What's going on, guys? It's Jacob from Topside MMA, and I just wanted to give you guys a last-second breakdown of these fights and to give you my betting overview of what I got action-wise on which fights. So let's get right into it. First up, we got Carli Judice versus Nicolle Caliari. Now, I still like Judice to win this by decision, although this is going to be very close. I do like the overs on this. Like, I have half a unit on the over 2.5 rounds. I also have a half unit on the plus 7.5 alternate spread for Nicolle Caliari. I just think she's super durable. If she gets takedowns going, she can land one round on the scorecards at least. I thought about taking the plus 3.5, but you never know. In a women's fight that goes over and it's going to be really close, there could always be that chance we get robbed on the scorecard. So I played it safe. I just went for the plus 7.5 alternate spread, and at minus 170, I thought it was really good value. So moving up, we got Brunno Ferreira versus Jackson McVey. I also have some action on this one too. I kind of took a little bit of a kind of wild approach on this because the one thing that's really concerned me is that we just don't know Jackson McVey's chin. We don't know his durability. And while Brunno is a tank, I think they're really underestimating Jackson for whatever reason, because we've never seen him tested in deep waters. So for that reason, I just have a little bit of a sprinkle. I took a quarter unit prop on Jackson McVey over 13.5 total significant strikes. I also took a quarter unit on Brunno Ferreira over 19.5 total significant strikes, just because it's so low, especially the Jackson line. 13.5 strikes is kind of crazy. I don't think he's going to get starched by Brunno, especially when we saw them at the weigh-ins and the face-offs. The size difference is actually insane. Jackson looks huge out there, and I think if he wants to grapple, he can. If he wants to really get in the clinch, because we've seen him when he wants to, he can get in the clinch. He has a nasty clinch work, and that's when he can start landing some shots up in the clinch, up tight, and I think those could easily rack up some significant strikes for him. So I like that line. I only have a quarter unit on each. I'm just kind of taking a little shot here. And just because I feel like we've never seen him here, the bookies don't really know how to accurately predict this line because he's just been finishing everyone right away. So just a little bit of a stab in the dark on this one just because we don't know about him yet. Thought it was good value on that. Next up, Ryan Spann versus Lukasz Brzeski. I got a lot of action on Ryan Spann this week. I like him as a round one knockout. It could be a submission. Now, I kind of have it spread across the board. I have action across Ryan Spann round one knockout, Ryan Spann versus sub in round one. I kind of split it up a little bit because I got better odds for a same game parlay on DraftKings. And I also took Ryan Spann to win in round 1 or 2 because really that's the only way he has to win here. If it goes beyond that, he's going to gas out and he won't look good. But I do not think it goes there. I think he gets him out of there in round 1. Lukasz Brzeski has not shown any durability. The second he gets hit with anything hard, he's out of there. So I think Ryan Spann, this is his real bounce back fight for him. So I also have a quarter or 1 unit on the Ryan Spann round 1 only prop just because I think the value is so good there. If at minus 295, I don't see him getting finished in the first round. Ryan Spann usually gets finished when he gasses out later in a fight. So for round 1, considering Lukasz Brzeski is so damn unreliable and he has no durability, for minus 295, had to throw a unit on that. So I got a couple units spread across Ryan Spann on this one. Moving on, we got Jimmy Crute versus Marcin Prachnio. This is the same thing. I got a couple units spread here too. I got Jimmy Crute to win by sub in round 1. I have a quarter or a half unit on that for plus 400. I just think the odds are insane. Marcin Prachnio is a blue belt in BJJ. Jimmy Crute is a black belt in BJJ. I don't get where the skill discrepancy is here. The odds are so insane. I can't believe it's plus 400 for a round 1 sub for Jimmy Crute considering the skill difference. I just took Jimmy Crute by sub in general because we've seen when Marcin Prachnio gets subbed, it's usually in the 3rd rounds, but it's against guys who don't have any BJJ game that's near Jimmy Crute's. So I got a unit on him by sub for plus 165. And I also kind of hedged it out. I got Jimmy Crute by KO in round 1 or 2 at plus 400 for another half unit, just because there's a chance he gets knocked out. Marcin Prachnio, he's been knocked out 4 times and only subbed twice. And there's a chance Jimmy Crute has good hands. He can knock him down early. But I think if he does, it's going to be early. If this extends out to the later rounds, it's going to be over. It's going to be GG's. So I don't really like the odds for the later on because I don't think it gets there. I think Jimmy Crute is going to take him down early. It could be a knockdown. It could be a knockdown. He could knock him down with the striking, with the hands, or he could just go straight up for a takedown. Marcin Prachnio is like a fish out of water when it comes to the grappling. And I know Jimmy Crute wasn't able to submit Bellato in his last fight, but that's because Bellato is a BJJ black belt who's been training his entire life. It wasn't even close of a comparison in this fight. And it's the same thing with Alonzo Menafield. Alonzo Menafield has never been submitted ever. So against a guy like Marcin Prachnio, who's a literal blue belt, if I get screwed on this bet, I don't care because the value is perfectly there. The value is completely there. It makes so much sense. I'd be damned if I didn't have some action on this one. So moving on, we got Adam Fugitt versus Islam Dulatov. I'm actually staying off of this one. The value's not there. The odds aren't there. We just don't know how he's going to perform in the UFC. I thought about adding a potential Dulatov round 1 knockout prop, but for minus 180, it just wasn't all that enticing since we've seen Adam Fugitt go the distance, or not the distance, but we've seen him go into the 3rd round against Michael Morales, who's a very dangerous striker too. So for this one, I'm just going to sit back and watch. Could be a decent live betting spot, but I'm avoiding it for the most part. Now, we got Ateba Gautier versus Robert Valentin. I'm picking Gautier by round 1 knockout, but the only action I have on this fight is actually for Valentin. Valentin is a brown belt, if not black belt at this point in judo, and I think his judo throws are going to be a huge advantage for him in this fight. So the only action I have on this is very small. I have Valentin by sub at plus 1100. I have 0.05 units on that. And so super just tiny little sprinkle. But if anyone has the grappling game, it's Valentin. We've seen him land a submission straight from judo throws. And we just know that Gautier, at only 23 years old, his skill set is not that wide yet. So there's a real possibility that Valentin could draw this out if he survives early on. The submission is very live. And that's probably his only way to really win this. I don't see him winning it on the cards. And I don't really see him knocking out Gautier either. So I think that's his best chance. He's been cracked a couple times, so I am picking Gautier by round 1 knockout. That seems like it's the most likely outcome. But Valentin's main path to victory here is to get him to the ground, whether a judo throw or a takedown, and go for a submission. So at plus 1100, I had to throw a little sprinkle on there. And I also had Valentin to land over 0.5 takedowns. For minus 150, he's a judo brown belt. Gautier doesn't have the judo experience behind him. He doesn't have any good ground game. That's Valentin's real method to win. And it's kind of weird because Valentin has said in interviews that he wants to make it a striking war and he wants to stand and bang, and that's how he wants to do this. But he's also said in other interviews that he thinks the way that this fight is going to go is that he's going to get a grounded pound. And I don't think grounded pound TKO. And I think the only way he gets a grounded pound win here is obviously he has to take it to the ground. I don't think he has to get Gautier on the ground. And I don't think he's knocking him out or knocking him down. The best path for him to do that is through judo. Because the second Gautier gets on the ground, he's like a fish out of water too. So Valentin needs to use his judo background here any way he can, and he needs to get up in tight, get up in the clinch, and land a throw. And I think for over 0.5 takedowns, that's what this line is at right now. For minus 150, I think it's great value considering that's the only way he wins here. And the second, if he gets cracked on the feet by Gautier, he's going to go immediately to that judo base that he's so familiar with. So I like that. I also like the same thing with the other fight, the Jackson McVey. I like the over 13.5 total significant strikes for Valentin here. At even odds, I have 0.3 units on it, so just a tight little sprinkle. But it's just one of those things. I just don't see him getting finished 13.5 significant strikes. Yes, Gautier is dangerous, but he's gone that decision before. He's lost a decision because he couldn't get the guy out of there. And the guy he couldn't finish was 1-0 as a professional fighter. He was nothing special after that. So I just don't see Robert Valentin getting sparked in the first 60 seconds and he can't land any strikes at all. Especially, we know Valentin likes to get in the clinch, and when he's in that tight clinch, he can land some elbows, he can land tight strikes, he can land knees. Those will count for significant strikes, and they should get him to at least 13.5 or to 14. So I like the overline here. For even odds, I think it's worth a shot just because we don't know how this is going to go. And I think Valentin's line is also so low here because we've seen him get dominated by wrestlers in his last 2 fights, whereas Gautier is the opposite of that. We've never seen Valentin just go strike for strike with another striker before in the UFC, so I think this is going to be a good test for him. I don't think his chin's going to give out that fast. I like him to get 14 significant strikes at least here, so I have a little bit of action on that. Moving on, Francisco Prado versus Nikolay Veretennikov. I've gotten less and less confident with this pick as the week has gone on. I have no action on this fight. I don't even want to touch it. I thought about taking a Prado alternate spread plus 3.5, but the more I think about it, these guys both haven't looked great. Prado is so young. We don't really know where his skill set is at. Yes, he's getting better and better. I still like him as a pick just because we know he should be improving. Whereas with Nikolay, he's older. He's probably past his prime. He's probably not going to get that much better. So I'll go with Prado. Got no action on this one. Just going to sit back and watch. Anything could happen here. If I had to pick something here, I would probably go for the over. I think these guys are both durable, but I'm personally not touching it. Same with this fight. I've gotten less and less confident as the week has gone on with this. I almost flipped to Vettori, but I gotta stick with Allen, just barely. Vettori, we just don't know mentally. Like, he lost his brother recently, and I know he said he wanted to fight for his brother, and that's a big impact on this fight. But I just think technically he's outmatched here. Brendan Allen, the only way he's lost his last 2 fights is because of his own mental lack of fight IQ. Like, he's cost himself his last 2 wins, and I think that is a better way to lose than just being technically outmatched and being hurt or having shin problems or just any like technical deficiency in your game. So I think that is really why this line is so close. Vettori just has not looked good. Vettori isn't making the same mistakes. He just genuinely is not looking as technically skilled in his recent matchups, especially against the second one against Dolidze. So I'm going Allen very slightly, but my opinions have gotten a little bit tighter on this. This feels like a real pick'em. Same with this fight, or not in the sense of I've gotten less and less confident. I still think Vinicius should do this. I was never that confident to begin with, because Kyler Phillips is dangerous early. It just his gas tank is a problem, whereas Vinicius kind of like powers up the longer he goes in to a fight. So I'm taking Vinicius Oliveira, slightly leaning towards him, but the fact that he's been finished in all 3 of his losses is a bit concerning. I don't want to have any money on this. I'm not touching this one. This should be a really good fight though, so I'm excited for it, but no money on it. Same with this one. This should be a banger. Zellhuber, I like him to win this. He should win this. He's one of my most confident picks, but the odds are just so shot. It's so hard to predict here. He could get a finish. He could get a knockout. He could get a submission. It could go to a decision. All the props are so juiced. There's no value here. Even the -3.5. If this does go to a decision, maybe Michael Johnson can make a round interesting. Obviously, I don't see him taking all 3. I don't see him finishing Daniel Zellhuber. But, there's a chance Michael Johnson could get frisky, go for a takedown or something. Like, there's a chance he could get a round. And I think his -3.5 for Zellhuber, the spread was... It was something ridiculous, like worse than -200. So I was like, for that value, I just don't think there's anything there. I don't want to touch it. So I have no individual props on this. I got Zellhuber in 1 or 2 parlays, but that's about it. Moving on. Dan Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. I still like Dan Ige in this. I like that the lines have widened a little bit. I have Dan Ige in a couple parlays. Let me pull these up. I got Dan Ige, and I got 1 parlay with him and Kevin Holland. I got this earlier in the week, so my odds are -101 for them both on the money line. And I also have Dan Ige +3.5 alternate spread with Kevin Holland -3.5 spread. So I just kind of took that one a little bit more risky on the Kevin Holland line, a little less risky on the Dan Ige side. I could have just combined them into one, but I don't know. I've gotten more and more confident with Kevin Holland, and I've gotten a little bit worried. Not worried with Dan Ige, but I don't know. My confidence has gotten a little bit lower than it originally was, so that kind of explains why I had that 2 split there, which I really didn't need. But this is a match. It's just when he's 38 years old as a featherweight, Patricio Pitbull, I don't see him winning this. Dan Ige, even in his losses recently against Lerone Murphy and Diego Lopez, he's still picking up a round against them. So honestly, I think the +3.5 alternate spread for Dan Ige is very, very close to a lock. Maybe not a lock, but especially like the +5.5 or +7.5. I think those odds were shot though. I think the +3.5 was like -400. And I mean, considering Dan Ige's never been finished and he's won at least 1 round against Diego Lopez and Lerone Murphy, I think that +3.5 is insanely good value. Just because Pitbull, he's 38 at featherweight. He's been knocked out in one of his last 3 fights, so it's like he just hasn't been looking good. He looked like shit in his last fight. He's realistically going to get worse and worse every time we see him. The value's all on Dan Ige. I like the money line straight up. It's getting a little bit worse, but I like Dan Ige in this one. Same with this, Kevin Holland. I haven't jumped quite yet on the individuals, so like submission or KO prop. I'm really tempted to go the submission prop. I think he's going to get the submission, but it's just the line is kind of... It's too risky because this fight could go either way. Like, D-Rod has 5 losses, and he's been finished in 2 of them. So it's like, all right, he's durable enough to last. But then you look at those losses, and you're like, oh, D-Rod got submitted by Neil Magny. You're like, oh. And you're like, you look at his KO loss, and it's, against Ian Gary. Where Ian Gary's a very good striker, but he's not the most dangerous. He's just been going decision after decision. So it's like, yeah, D-Rod hasn't been finished a whole lot, only 2 times in his pro career. But then it's like he's getting finished by guys that he could not have, or like there's a chance that he was not finished by them. Like the Neil Magny submission, I don't think anyone saw that coming. So it's like one of those things. It's tough. I could see this going anyway. Like when Kevin Holland fought Gunnar Nelson, I didn't think he would get a finish there either. I think I had a little sprinkle on the sub prop, but I didn't think it would happen. And this is kind of like the opposite. I might have a little sprinkle. I think it should happen, but there's a chance that it couldn't. Like, so I might have a little bit of like, I don't know. Might have a sprinkle on the late Kevin Holland sub, but I think I'm just going to avoid this. I already have Kevin Holland in a couple parlays, like the ones with Dan Ige I said. I got one big parlay for just 0.25 units with Ryan Spann, Jimmy Crute, Islam Dulatov, Daniel Zellhuber, and Kevin Holland. I call it my what could go wrong parlay. So just a little sprinkle on that. But yeah, it's like it's hard to really put anything behind this fight other than throwing Kevin Holland in a bunch of parlays, because I do think he should be a lock for this. But now his money line is so juiced at this point, it's like it's really hard to do anything. If you think it gets a sub, the sub value the sub prop does still have decent value. Same with like if you think he's going to get a KO, there is decent value there. Inside the distance by KO or sub has kind of been juiced too. So I already got him in enough. I'll probably have a little something on a submission prop depending on how the night goes overall, but other than that, I'm staying off. Same with this fight. I'm completely avoiding this fight. I've gotten less and less confident the more the week has gone on with this fight. I still like Kopylov. I think he's more dangerous as a striker, but Paulo Costa has been tweaking out lately. At the press conference, he was all jumpy and buggy, and he's acting strange, and he says he's going to come out super aggressive, and we know he has the grappling background to rely on or to fall back on if he really wanted to. So I just don't know what the hell he's going to do here, especially against Kopylov. Like, Kopylov's good, but he's not. I'm not so confident in Kopylov that I think, oh, he can withstand anything. Like that last fight with Cesar Almeida, that was a close one. So against like a guy like Paulo Costa, he's good. You know, he's just lost to Sean Strickland, but it's like Sean Strickland's damn good, former champion. So it's a tough one. I've gotten less and less confident with this. I have no money on this. I don't want to have anything on it, but I still going with Roman Kopylov, but my confidence has definitely gone down. We got the final main event. Same thing as the last one. I'm not touching this. I just want to watch it and enjoy it as a fan. I do lean Dustin Poirier so slightly, but my confidence has gone down less and less and less. The whole, like, the fact that Dustin is retiring now really just rubs me the wrong way. No, or not rub me the wrong way because of, like, him retiring, but it's like, it's really hard to have a lot of confidence when someone knows they're basically 1 foot out the door already. And I know Dustin looks in great shape. He looked great at weigh-ins, looked great at face-offs. Like, he looks in peak physical condition. Like, he looks shredded. But it's just like that mentality of knowing you're leaving is different than when you're hungry and you're like, all right, I need to win this so I can fight for the belt next. Like, something about that mentality is very concerning to me, whereas at least Max Holloway is still hungry in that regard. But Max Holloway's coming off a knockout loss. We've never seen his chin cracked before, and once it's cracked, it's hard to tell where you're at, you know, after that. So you can't have a lot of confidence in this. I know a lot of people like the over, and if I had to pick, I would say it goes over. But considering these guys are both getting older, they've been in wars, I don't even know if the over is really worth putting anything on this week. So I don't have anything on this at all. I'm not putting anything on it. I'm just kind of sitting back and watching. Barely picking Dustin. Very unconfident pick on that. But anyway, guys, that does it for the wrap up for UFC 318 and my bets. I got about 10 units total, so it's a big week. You know, I got a lot of action, but it's funny, I don't really have a ton of action on the main card. I'm hitting the prelims and the early prelims, but not a whole lot on the main. So anyway, guys, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for all the love on the recent video too, the Locks and Trap video. You know, I really appreciate it. So I'm definitely going to be bringing that around for all the next upcoming cards. So yeah, I'm excited for this event. You know, I'll have a breakdown going over what I thought about the event here in a couple days after it's over, probably Sunday. So until I see you guys in the next one, I will catch you guys. Peace.